Hello, welcome back to Podcasting as Praxis. I'm David, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm Jamie, my pronouns are he and him.
And that's it, that's all the cast we've got. This is actually mostly a Comradio takeover, so who have we got from Comradio?
I'm Jordan, and my pronouns are he and him.
I'm Chloe, my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Matt, my pronouns are he, him.
So there's more of you, so like, fuck up, you do it. So yeah, we've got Comradio on to talk about films because I made an offhand comment about wouldn't it be funny if we did a joint episode for cultural committee stuff, and then Jordan took it seriously like the fucking rube that he is, and here we are. I've just wasted an entire fucking afternoon watching two films, one of which I've seen plenty and one which I'd seen already too much, by which I mean once. Yeah, so we're here for a special two-part episode to talk about Independence Day and Independence Day 2. So this will be the Independence Day section. If you want the Independence Day 2 episode, you need to go to Comradio for that. But yeah.
Love how we're not even giving it the respect of its name.
No, not even. No. Fully not. Fuck that film.
Well, the original plan for this was to be putting these episodes out on Independence Day, and instead we're recording them on Pakistan Independence Day. That's just left-wing planning, I think, for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think part of the reason we wanted to do this was to do a bit of ale work. Mm-hmm. That thing we started and hardly ever talk about because we forget things a lot.
It's fun to work with friends.
Oh my God, there's about to be a moral lesson here.
I was just Googling to see if there was a Turkish Independence Day. Because am I right in thinking that Turkey do a lot of kind of... Did they do the other Star Wars?
Well, you'll have to check in with Jamie on a different podcast on their Patreon to find out about Turkish Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. Turkish Star Wars is incredible.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's an equivalent Independence Day version, but there isn't, from what I can tell.
No.
I don't know. I famously, I know nothing. So.
This is a good base to start.
I wish that was my bit on this podcast, where I just came in and didn't know anything at all. It was really amazing how you've managed to nail that down in two separate podcasts.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is literally why Sinan hired me.
It's why I suggested you. By the way, who wrote the music for that podcast?
I think it was Sting.
Oh, right. Well, we kick off on Independence Day, and I think we'll talk through our thoughts on it just briefly, and then we'll dissect the plot, and then we'll talk about shit as it comes up, and then we can have rants about it afterwards.
Sound.
Cool. Right. Well, fine. Chloe, well volunteered. What did you think of Independence Day?
It's actually more interesting than it had any right to be for the kind of film that it is. No, I mean, I think... So if we go into some of it, it doesn't do huge depth on character studies, but it tries to make a little bit of an effort. It has some very stupid and illogical stuff that you manage to ignore because it's carrying you well enough along with the plot that until you get to the end of it and someone goes, how on earth did the virus thing work? Just feels cool with it in the film. And
I actually know what the nerd rationale for that was, because I saw it in the cinema in the 90s, and I can remember people arguing on the internet about it. And apparently the implication, which I didn't fucking pick up any of in the film, is that like our computer technology is based in part on things that like fucking Data learned from the fucking alien spaceship.
And therefore they're compatible.
Yeah, I don't believe that that's actually implied anywhere in the film.
I like
Unix
it.
actually comes from the word universe, which is where they found the stuff.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
To be fair, that's also where everyone finds everything.
Yeah, oh, true. Yeah.
Hark at Brian Cox over there.
It's a Unix system. People just know this.
Yeah, the music for Peace at Home is actually Things Can Only Get Better by the band D. Ream.
It's true. Check it out. Sound of the Summer. Yeah, like I think it's a perfectly good, fine film. Like it's total bullshit schlock for most part, but like it's fine. It's good. It aims to do a thing. It does the thing. It does the thing fine. Like yeah, I just don't really have any huge issues with it. There's a couple of bits where it's like no, but it's not terrible. Whatever mental state that Roland Emmerich was in at the time is a much better one than the one that he's been in recently. I don't want to go too into depth in the terminal decline of the mind of Roland Emmerich, because we've got fucking Moonfall planned as an episode to talk about soon, and that's even more so than the second Independence Day film, a clear indicator of where he's going. But yeah, like this is just emblematic of a better time in which films could just be dumb shit and like also not be tragically fucking offensive at the same time they were trying to be entertaining. Whereas yeah, like we'll get into the second. I just want to talk about the second one. I don't even want to talk about the first one because it's just fine. I just want to get into the bit where I tear fucking another film apart.
The thing is with Independence Day, I've got a big bit of a soft spot for it because I also saw it in the cinema. Even though after the cinema I was waiting to get picked up by my dad and I ended up getting punched by someone by accident. So even despite that, I still have... It was amazing. Like a gang walked over to me and said, just charge. Someone hit me and said, no, that's not the guy. And then they ran off. Weird time. Liverpool. But I still really liked that film. And actually, the other thing was, when we actually got to the cinema, it was so popular... I was on the front row, so I ended up watching the White House blow up with my neck at like a beyond a 45-degree angle, looking up at the cinema screen.
Like Spinal Alley.
Yeah, it was IMAX before IMAX, really, but it was really still quite a impressive film to watch. But when you watch kind of Emmerich's film trajectory, this is his first disaster movie in a proper kind of blowing shit up sort of way, and it plays like a disaster movie like from the 70s, like Towering Inferno or Earthquake or something like that, in that you've got these kind of different groups of people experiencing different disasters in different places, and then the sci-fi bit kicks in towards the end, and obviously it's all about aliens, so you can't avoid that, but it does have that feel. And then he went on to make Godzilla, which is kind of the same thing but with monsters instead of aliens, Day After Tomorrow, which is the environment, and then 2012, and they've all got this kind of slight disaster movie vibe to them.
Yeah, he's he definitely gets worse as he gets older. Like
he has an increasing bloodlust.
I would say like Independence Day is his difficult second album. I know he'd made like a bunch of films before he did Stargate, but Stargate was his first like big hit, I think. Yeah, and then this is the follow-up, if I remember rightly. And,
but he didn't get stuck in the Stargate mold. He got stuck in the disaster movie mold for some reason. I guess because this film was so much bigger, and he's like, "Well, better do that again 15 times."
You blow up one pyramid.
Well, I think it's just like because the scene in this where they actually like blow the White House and everything else up. It's genuinely fucking iconic. I mean, it changed like cinema history.
It's in the trailer.
Yeah, people just went absolutely fucking wild for like how, like, just like, well, iconic's the word for it really. How like unique and fucking like good that looked. It was like, do you know what I mean? It was really a really impressive feat, and I think he's just been desperately trying and failing to recapture that glory as he goes on. Because he doesn't just do disaster films. He did like a film about Stonewall, which I found out about today while looking at his IMDb.
Oh yeah,
didn't he do one about Shakespeare as well?
Yes, he did. He did one about how like Shakespeare was some other guy.
But the Stonewall one was about a fictional white cis gay person who was like the main person of Stonewall.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I did figure it would be shit. Like
David Stonewall.
He did. He did White House Down, which like was absolutely fucking shocking to me, because when that year there was White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen were coming out, and it was like, okay, so there's two different people doing like White House Die Hard. One did Training Day and one did 2012. Oh, I wonder which of those like is going to be good. And I've never been more wrong in my life. Do you know what I mean? Because White House Down is like really entertaining, and Olympus Has Fallen is hot fucking dog shit. It's like just staggering how badly things went there. But so he's generally, I think, like, I mean, White House Down suggests he's probably more comfortable not doing like the fucking big disaster stuff. I think maybe like, you know, he's held hostage by his own success there. Because if there's one thing you could probably say about Hollywood, it's that if someone does something good once and makes like a fucking like billions of dollars doing it, they will insist on it being done over and over until like the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
So Jamie, which would you say is Dante's Peak and which is Volcano of those two films?
Or if you want an older reference, which one's Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, or which one's Patrick Bergen's?
If we're going to do the Volcano one, it's whichever one has the asbestos dog in it, because that also applies in this.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the other? Oh, the one we did for a previous film club with Justin Hancock, also from Ale, which is No Strings Attached and Friends with Benefits, which also came out in the same year as each other.
Yeah, I love that phenomenon where like the two people just make the same. It's just fuck it. We're just, you know what I mean. Someone clearly sold two studios the same script, but we'll just post through it. You know what I mean? But now to get back to Independence Day, I saw it 3 times in the cinema back to back because I was absolutely shit faced and I had nothing to do that afternoon. And it was like three quid for a fucking ticket back then. So I was just like, yeah, I'll just...
Did you go out and come back in, or did you just stay in?
Oh, no, I went out and like went back in. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I went out, checked my watch, went, I've still got time to kill, and just went back in. Stay out of the sun, you know what I mean? But it's not a terrible film. I don't think it's aged especially well, but like some bits of it are good. Like the fucking, like Jeff Goldblum's great. Will Smith's great. Like Judd Hirsch is great. There's a lot of like good performances in it, and then it's sort of held together by like fucking just some absolute pish. Do you know what I mean? Like the bit where they blow up the Earth and like wipe out all the cities is fucking incredible. It's like, I mean, I still like really fucking, do you know what I mean? Like really enraptured by it watching it now, like 20 years later. Yeah, it's just genuinely like a good, exciting bit of cinema. But then, like at the end, when they go, there's like millions of aliens coming down to land in spaceships. We better. Oh no, look, we blew up the thing, and the whole like fucking mothership exploded, and then all the spaceships fell over because they just like, you know what I mean? They just kept going, and then they just went, we've been on 2.5 hours now. Do we want to wrap this up? And they just went like, and then like they find the big button marked win, and the film ends. But yeah, there's bits of it that are just fucking dreadful. Like I absolutely fucking unironically love the bit where they get word out through Morse code to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world appears to be still in 1940. Like, do you know what I mean? You've got like British officers, like British wartime officers, like doing the proper like posh boy accent, and like when the spaceship crashes at the end, there's a bunch of tribesmen with spears like looking at it, and it's just like, is this guy just unaware of like world history? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, that's starting to go into some of the racial politics of the film as well.
I do just love that they have like ships over the major world cities, and it's like there's nods at like that other countries exist, but mostly it's like New York, LA, and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, there's New York and Washington DC, which are actually very close together relative to like these
a huge big spaceship in the sky as well.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like I think that the whole world finds out about the plan and is like very happy that the Americans have decided to solve the problem thing is probably a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like he's deliberately trying to wind everyone up with that. But there's
He's German as well.
There's no excusing the bit at the end where like all the people of the world like come out of their like fucking, do you know what I mean, primitive Stone Age shacks and cheer that the spaceships have crashed. Like, it's like I said, the fucking bit with the tribesmen with spears is just fucking absolutely like shocking, and it doesn't really get any better in the sequel. To be fair.
Oh, no, not at all.
Someone needs to do like a Independence Day edit and just show that, just put it onto YouTube, and it's just the entire film as it is. But at the end, when they're all celebrating, they just cut to the Ewoks celebrating on the moon of Endor as well.
I mean, I would say, like, it's not the first one's not a terrible film, and it's worth watching. It's worth seeing at least once if you haven't, because, like I said, the destruction sequence is just an unbelievable achievement. Some of the best special effects you'll ever see,
and also non-CGI effects as well. They do a lot of it with models.
Yeah, I think some of the fucking like spaceships, like the littler ones, are when they're like having the actual dogfights.
Yeah,
with the little flying saucers. I think some of those were CGI, if I remember a fucking making of documentary I saw like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's a mix. But the thing is, you watch other films from that period as well, because Jurassic Park does this very well, in that you have some CGI and you have some effects, and they don't overdo the CGI too much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like not a guy who says you shouldn't ever it's like practical effects are always better than CGI, because I don't think that's like true. I think the issue is that like practical effects, like if you do practical effects cheaply, they look better than cheap CGI. Yeah. And like the problem with CGI is like in the 90s, there was a lot of like shit CGI around, but when it was used well, like in a good film, you didn't notice it. But once it got established as like, oh, here's this, like, computers are now finally good enough that we don't need to flip a car for a TV show. We can just like digitally render it.
Yeah.
Spin a cop instead.
Yeah. And then suddenly it's like, right, okay, now that CGI houses have taken over the special effects industry, fuck everyone's wages. They can do 80 films a week and like it. And now it's all like, now you notice it all because it's like dog shit done by people who were overworked and underpaid.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It was unionized stunt coordinators getting replaced by ununionized CGI artists.
And the other thing is, you can't be telling someone who's been doing practical effects to change it 2 weeks before the release.
Yeah,
there is that as well. Like, yeah, but I mean, if you want a much better, and because one thing I'll say about both these films is that Roland Emmerich has no idea how people talk to each other. The dialogue in both films is fucking... I mean, it's much worse than the sequel, to be fair, but it is fucking horrendous. If you want a much like a take on like Alien Invasion with much more likable and believable characters, you should watch Attack the Block.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a very good film.
It's a fucking incredible film.
But Roland Emmerich does do the clever thing of hiding some of that dialogue issues by hiring Jeff Goldblum to say it. Yeah, I mean, if he'd have got Christopher Walken in as well, it would have been a masterstroke.
I mean, like I said, there's a lot of annoying characters across both films, but I think like the fucking the absolute like master of like just boiling my piss with everything that came out of his mouth is Harry Connick Jr. in the first one. As like fucking like Will Smith's like fucking wingman Jimmy Knobhead or whatever the fuck he was called, because he is just the worst fucking prick like ever. He's just so fucking aggravating.
Harry Connick Jr. is responsible for the worst song I've ever heard, which he released a song because he fancied himself as like a bit of a Sinatra-like guy at one point, and he released a song called "The Recipe for Making Love." And
oh fuck!
Does if at any point in that song he uses the word "stir," and I'm going to find him right now and
bake him a cake.
Well, would you like to hear what the first verse is?
No. If I'm being honest, no.
It's a little bit of me and a whole lot of you. Add a dash of starlight and a dozen roses too. Then let it rise for 100 years or two, and that's a recipe for making love.
Oh, no.
Jesus.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that 100 years or two is a bit long to be spending on foreplay.
Oh my god, the lyrics are just... Oh, they get worse every verse. It's amazing. You just triggered a memory in the back of my head that this existed, and then it's like, oh my god, this is awful.
This isn't something you prepared, Matt, for the episode.
No, I literally Googled it. It doesn't need sugar because it's already sweet. It doesn't need an oven because it's got a lot of heat. Just add a dash of kisses to make it all complete, and that's a recipe for making love. Oh my god.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
He does actually have one decent moment in the film where...
Dying.
With that, and also the bit where someone thinks he's proposing to Will Smith in the...
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's actually set up, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're gonna do a gay joke. Let's like lay the groundwork.
But it's also like they get to that scene and neither of them seem bothered about the assumptions someone's made about them. It's like, it's kind of a gay joke, but it's also like, who cares if someone thinks they're gay?
Yeah, to be honest, they have far more issue with like Jasmine being a stripper than...
Well, I would say... Well, not to foreshadow the Comradio episode too much, but this film seems a lot more positive about Jasmine and also about strippers.
Yes, I would actually agree with that. I think like it gets weirdly into the any stripper's boss is like making them do it, and in a way not coercing them through them just needing money like anybody else needs money, but like a... You know, strippers have minimal agency kind of thing. And there's obviously that, let's have a big shocker between the first lady going, I love ballet, to a woman that works as a stripper. But I also thought it was quite interesting that following the film, like apparently loads of people really went all out on like dolphin jewelry and stuff. Because it had actually given Jasmine quite a positive light. And one of the big things was like, okay, you know, you're getting this constant thing of you don't marry the stripper, and then it's a big moment of actually you do marry the stripper because she's still a good and a great person, and like she's got a high amount of value, which you don't.
Yeah.
There's like bits that I think aren't great, but in the main, it treated her character pretty well. All in all, I thought the character for the first lady got a far worse deal in that, like, you're going, let's just kill her off for the fun of it.
Let's see, in my notes, where is it? I think I said, is this fridging? It feels an awful lot like fridging. Another precedent for resurgence.
The thing is, they don't even, like, they made this thing about the president being like a family man and loves his wife and all of that kind of thing, but also it doesn't feel like his motivation really comes from her dying. It's like that's a sad thing for him.
I think maybe his motivation to get in the plane does.
Yeah, I suppose. It didn't feel like an all-out fridge to me. Like, bad, but not like an all-out. His entire motivation is from, his wife dying.
It felt like a fridging, and then they forgot to give him any kind of emotional consequence of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to kill the president's wife to make him feel sad. He won't feel sad though.
Yeah, not that sad, because like he still like really loves being with his boys, and that's it.
Yeah.
And he still really loves America.
Yeah. Well, do we want to talk about some of the politics in the film, as in like the actual politics of the president and what? Because it's a liberal film almost, but there's like hints about some people's politics in the film, but it's never outright stated.
So I was just going to say, going back to the CGI issue and the fact that it's quite practical, that means that the more practical you get on that, the more you have to work with the American military. Because it's a very fighter jetty kind of movie, isn't it? I
mean, someone was telling, when I said like to someone that I was watching these, someone was telling me that apparently for the first film, cause I think I actually remember reading this somewhere as well. I think now that I mention it, but the first film, the army told them they had to like take out all the references to Area 51, and they just told them to get fucked and didn't get the army's like help. But then the second one, supposedly they fucking just like let the army like write the script for them.
Yeah, am I right in thinking they had those ads running like in 2016? They had those ads running before it came out of like join the army or like actual sort of recruitment ads for the second film, which they didn't have that same kind of thing for the first at all. Very weird.
Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
I was raised in Idaho, but I was made in Area 51.
But I mean, like he's definitely a Democrat, right? He does.
Is he?
Yeah, because he's done healthcare reform and he's done environment reform.
More than the Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, like, but like, I think he's definitely intended to be a Democrat. Like, from all he's big on reforms that are positive, kind of.
See, I said that he strikes... I'd never learnt his name as well, so I just called him Bill or Pullman. But he strikes me as a Democrat because the Republicans never worry about appearing tough or decisive. So, like, Donald Trump is, quote-unquote, bitchy and obsessed with petty tabloids disputes, but he's still somehow seen as masculine. Whereas, like, Joe Biden is like, everyone just thinks or the Republican voters and enthusiasts just think he's the softest man on earth.
As a general rule, it tends to be, depending on who the president is at the time, the presidential characters tend to mirror that. So, yeah,
but
he's like a less sleazy Bill Clinton.
So that would make Jasmine a Republican voter then.
Yeah,
I noticed that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing I thought, because the other thing is, like, I mean, you could pitch him being Republican, I think, because there's this whole thing about, like, how he has to make deals in order to try and get things through. And I think usually in film you get, like,
It's the deals president.
Well, yeah, less that and more that usually in film, if a president's being held up by the committees and by having to make agreements, the president's more likely to be Republican. So they kind of, I suppose you could, like, go the other way on it, but...
I think with any film where they have like the president as a sort of like fairly central character, but the film doesn't directly deal with politics, then they just sort of like they have a tendency to not like to act as if there aren't two parties in America.
A third way, if you will.
Yeah, like they just, do you know what I mean? Like he could be Republican or he could be Democrat, and his opponent could have been either. It's not really like, you know what I mean? Politics would be better if it was like the West Wing and everyone just got along and like, compromised. And so like takes place in an idealized America where both parties are centrists.
See, that was one of the things my last note on this film was some real Sorkin-esque shit in that speech.
Oh, that fucking speech is dreadful.
Yeah, and it's like the iconic thing from, apart from blowing up the White House, but it's one of the iconic things from the film is that speech.
Just back on the blowing up of the White House, but the thing that I find most interesting there, or like most impressive about it, is that it took another 5 years to see practical effects on an American big building, like, again.
Yeah, I was gonna like credit fucking the director with inspiring 9/11.
Will we go through the plot synopsis on Wikipedia, because that's always a good place to fucking spin off into little bits. So, on July 2nd, 1996, an enormous extraterrestrial mothership enters Earth's orbit and deploys multiple saucers, each 15 miles (24 kilometres) wide, over major cities worldwide.
Before that, though, you get the shot of it like coming over the plaque on the moon, where they came in peace for all mankind. You know what I mean? And that clearly fucking worked. But the thing's going across and all the dust is like shaking, and I'm like, is it like, is the vibration carrying through a vacuum there? I'm unclear on exactly what's supposed to be going on there. But a thing that I did like fucking say watching the second one was I want like Roland Emmerich to just learn anything about physics, just any one thing about physics. Doesn't matter what it is, just start with one simple physics fact, just any.
Work out from there.
Because like, yeah, because he's obsessed with the fucking moon, right? It's in like this one that like, you know, you see the shot on the plaque on the moon and they talk about how the spaceship's 1/4 the size of our moon or some shit. And the second one like features the moon quite heavily, and then he's done that fucking Moonfall. And one of his earlier films was about like a helicopter fucking squadron on the moon or something. And I was looking at the synopsis earlier.
The rumours of Roland Emmerich being a werewolf have been going around for a long time now, actually.
Yeah, but for someone who's so like obsessed with the moon, he knows fuck all about how it works.
So yeah, the saucers go over major cities worldwide, including New York City, Los Angeles, and Washington DC. Cities worldwide.
Yeah, this is that. I mean, rewatching it, I was like doing that, and I was like, oh my god! Obviously, it's such an American film with doing the Independence Day thing in the first place, but I do love how much they're like, this is the known world, really.
His Bloodlust at this point was actually just directed entirely inwards on America. It's only after that he's realised that it's not America that's the problem, it's humanity, and that's why his later films are the way they are.
Well, like I said, he is German-born, so maybe it was just some kind of revenge for something. I don't know what, but
who could say? Who could possibly say what that might be? US Marine Captain Stephen Hiller, Will Smith, is deployed despite being on leave. His girlfriend, Jasmine DeBro, decides to flee Los Angeles with her son, Dylan.
Can we just pause there for a second?
Yes. There's a lot skipped over in that. That's very simplified.
Well, that's the point I want to make, is there's a lot skipped over there. I made the mistake of watching the extended cut, which was just too long. But yeah.
How long is the extended cut?
I deleted it, so I don't know. The second I finished that film, I deleted it. But the black main character doesn't appear in that until 22 minutes into it. So, like, that a worrying precedent set for the importance of black characters in these films.
Fuck me. No, we did not watch it. It's 153 minutes, the extended cut.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
No need for that.
No, there really is
That is the one we watched.
Is it?
150 minutes is 2.5 hours.
Yeah, only extended by 8 minutes.
Yeah, it was only 8 minutes, so it was 2 hours 20 something, the one we watched.
I don't feel so bad about it now. But yeah, it's 22 minutes before Will Smith appears in the film.
8 minutes of extended and additional footage, bringing it to 153 minutes total. The scenes include the first dialogue between President Whitmore and Constance Spano was extended.
I just like the idea that somewhere out there's Independence Day Redux, which had an extra hour and a half.
Well, there's also a deleted alternate scene of Russell's suicide attack. Cool.
What?
Yeah. I don't know if he does it twice or something. Like, don't know.
He actually just makes it up there, gets out of the cockpit, and then has a semi-improvised device that he's strapped to himself.
I really like the scene where Will Smith goes outside and like everyone's just like staring in awe at the ship that's hovering over the city, and like, you know, they're all fucking packing their bags and shit, and he just goes out, doesn't realise what's happening at all, goes, picks up the newspaper, does that kind of slow look to either side of people just being weird, and then him finally looking up, and it's like, that's all well and good, but how the fuck did they miss the thing in the first place? Because it was in his direct eye line the whole time he was walking out.
That's the fucking like Walking Dead rules for like, you can things only exist while they're on camera.
The Wile E. Coyote rule, then.
This brings me to my theory that Will Smith actually just needed glasses, because, like, 100% when I wander around the house and I've not put my glasses on, that is, like, I would not see those things until you get, like, to the point of close enough. It's all just a blurry thing in the distance.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just be like, oh, it looks stormy out today.
Exactly.
In New York City, David Levinson, which is Jeff Goldblum's character, an MIT-trained satellite technician, which like is a bit of an embellishment on what he's like constantly made out to be, which is a cable repair guy, decodes a signal embedded within global satellite transmissions.
Well, they use cables on satellites.
They do.
I think.
They do. That is notably true, and also notably true for Americans to use cable incorrectly as a term.
Yeah. That's what my GCSE in fucking like global communications told me.
And he realises that the signal is the aliens' countdown for a coordinated attack. And then, with help from his ex-wife, who is the White House communications director, Constance Spano, David and his father.
Not a great deal of help.
Yeah,
she does hang up on him the first time.
But that's government being fucking useless. Another constant theme of Roland Emmerich's films is that the government is absolutely dog shit anytime it tries to touch any sort of big thing. which he's to some degree accurate on, but he's ideological about it.
Do we think in this world that there's all different cable repairmen who are all figuring this out, but none of them have the connections of Jeff Goldblum?
Could be, yeah. I mean, if I know IT guys, they would have just like found the simplest and easiest solution, and it's like, yeah, okay, like it's actually, we can filter this out, or we could warn the president that we're about to be killed by aliens, and you'd just be like, that's above my pay grade, mate. Just filter it out.
Well, it's either that or none of them have touched a woman before, and Jeff's the only one that's got a wife who happens to be working in the White House.
With help from her, David and his father Julius reach the Oval Office and alert President Thomas Whitmore.
That's his name.
Yeah, President Whitmore. It's not Biden when you watch the second film. Don't think it's Biden. You may be wandering around confused, but it's not President Biden.
I mean, he's about 60 years younger than
That's very fucking true,
yeah. And a lot more cogent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd forgive Biden a lot of his sins if he'd been like psychically attacked by an alien at some point in the past.
So, while this is all going on, like the White House obviously knows that there's these fucking things in orbit, and then they come over the cities and they're like, yeah, you can evacuate if you want, I suppose. You don't have to, but it's probably fine. Very, very much a prescient observation of what might the CDC do in events. Which was, cool. Credit where it's due. You called that one right, I suppose. So the evacuations are eventually ordered, but it's too late.
There is the amazing line in there from, what's his name, Firestein. I can't remember the character's name, where he's like, "Got to save my mum. Got to save someone else. Got to save my lawyer. Forget my lawyer." Which is.
Yeah. He was. I genuinely really like that actor. He turned up in every film in the 90s as the gay guy.
The only other thing I can remember in film's Mrs. Doubtfire, which, like, when you're watching this, is a kind of weird touchstone to have for the guy. But, like, yeah, fair enough.
Harvey Firestein, which is an unfortunate.
Yeah, you don't want to be any kind of Harvey Stein, do you? No. At this point.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, fire is like the opposite element to wine. Like mortal enemies or some shit. I like the bit where they send the helicopter up with a light bright on each side of it.
That's good.
To try and like fucking, do you know what I mean? They don't even like attempt to draw a dick, which is like the one thing you would really think a pilot would try to do if you gave them that power. You know what I mean? Remember, you've got the whole of the like population of the Earth depending on you here to make a good first impression with these aliens, and you just get up there and immediately draw goats or something.
I mean, using one of them is kind of like fair enough if it's Roland Emmerich again, and obviously the first thing that he's going to think of, like, how would you communicate? What form would you use? You would use something that Moonanites would understand. So, yeah, fair play. They order the evacuation when the countdown thing's made clear to the president, but it's too late. And then you get all the not 9/11s happen. Big fucking building in New York's destroyed.
Yeah, you don't get to call them 9/11s if they happen before 9/11.
Four twos, 7 twos. It's a 7-2. So the cool practical effects happen, killing millions, and then Air Force One manages to get away, and Jasmine, Dylan, and the asbestos dog Boomer hide in a tunnel corridor.
A cupboard.
That is an amazing leap by the dog, though.
That is such. I love that they put that moment in for the dog, like that classic action movie moment of someone diving away just in time from an explosion, and it's a dog.
It's like a rule in the 90s, though, that like no matter what the fucking disaster is, the dog has to survive. Like at the end of Dante's Peak, where they crash the fucking like truck into a mine shaft and are trapped there for like days until the rescuers come, and luckily they had a sandwich with them or something, so they didn't have to eat the dog. I really like how they did the like thinking back to that fucking like making of documentary I saw fucking like decades ago. The way they did the like fire like rolling through the city is they built a fucking model, like a scale model of the city, tipped it on its side, and then just like fired a flamethrower up it from the bottom and slowed that down.
And it does continue. It does start the Roland Emmerich trend of being chased by elements as well.
Is it ice in 20?
Exactly, yeah. No, Day After Tomorrow.
Day After
They're being
Tomorrow.
chased by ice, which is freezing everything behind it. And
yeah, ice and claymation wolves. If we want to go back to how like bad CGI looks like fucking dog shit, or in that case, bad CGI looks like shit dogs. But
yeah, I do think there's some sort of study about Roland Emmerich's fear of the elements.
It's not his fear. It's not a fear that he has of these things. He has an intense want to weaponize them. Like you're not giving the guy enough agency in this. Like he's not showing these things that he thinks he's afraid of. He's showing these things that he wants to happen to us.
Yeah, because surely 2012, that's water as well.
Yeah.
2012's a bit of everything. Like he kind of tries to play all the hits in 2012, except the moon, obviously, which he's saving for a worse thing down the line. So on July 3rd, we know it's July 3rd because there's big super bold silver lettering that comes up that says July 3.
Yeah.
Counterattacks against the invaders are thwarted by the alien warships' force fields. And then we get a fine attempt, which is repeated in the worst fucking way. It's George Lucas in the second one, which again, I'm trying not to talk about the second one. Don't do that. So they have a dog fight with the little alien fighters and the jets that are launched.
Harry Connick Jr. eats shit.
Yeah,
eats much deserved shit. Quite frankly,
it's in a really weird way. Like he's just takes his mask off at a certain point.
Yeah, he just forgets how to fly a fucking plane. Do you know what I mean?
It's like not until the Phantom Menace did someone try and do a cool trick and simply turn the throttle in one direction to do it. Like I'm going to try something. Slowly pulls up.
Yeah, it's great. Like Will Smith's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like planes don't work like that.
Yeah.
And then he takes the mask off, and Will Smith's like, "What are you fucking doing? Get back in the plane!" Like he's out on the wing. You know what I mean? Like breathing into a paper bag, just fucking,
just hanging out there with a little gremlin, William Shatner screaming about him.
Yeah. Like maybe the alien used its psychic powers to just like remove all of his Air Force training, and he's just like a panic. It's like, why am I in a plane?
Just convincing me he was in the film Hot Shots.
Yeah.
The next thing that happens is that there's a much smaller scale dogfight between Will Smith and another one of them, and he gets it to chase him down a canyon, purposely crashes his plane after deploying the parachute on it so that the alien can't see, because they've got this far through space and they still rely on windows, which you can recycle that joke later if you want. And fuck's sake. And that ship crashes, and then you get the
and then Will Smith breaks both of his legs in a parachute accident.
And then punches the alien unconscious and gives us the welcome to Earth line.
Yeah. The one much maligned by 4chan racists everywhere.
Yeah. That does show us the design of the alien right at the beginning. It is a very good alien design. I do have to give them credit for that.
It is. I like it.
And also practical in this one.
Is that the first one we see? Is that the very first time we see it, or do we see them in the vats before this?
Yeah.
No, we see that after, because that's after that we get the big, actually, Area 51 really was a conspiracy and the government really is hiding things, including from the president. Mm-hmm. And then we get to see the next one.
Yeah.
But yeah, because the ones in the vat are revealed like almost immediately before Will Smith turns up with that one in the back of a truck.
Yes, yeah. But I should say it's an alien design, but it's not the alien, is it?
No, they're wearing an Iron Man suit made out of snot. It's the best way to describe it. Like,
it's weird because even though it's kind of a exoskeleton, they've still got their tentacles sticking out the back, which just seems like a design flaw.
Well, you need to use your tentacles.
Mm.
Yeah, well, the technology hadn't been developed for like fucking, do you know what I mean? Like Dr. Octopus yet, was it? That was like 2002.
That's true, yeah. Anyway, H.R. Geiger's Dr. Octopus. So next thing we get is that, he, the president and co, which is, he's fucking really cutting along, they find out that Area 51 is real, and they go there, and they get to see the now refurbished Roswell ship.
They get to meet Adam Baldwin when he was normal. Before Twitter made him into the insane, like, fucking, do you know what I mean, dickhead that we know and love.
So they see the ship that crashed at Roswell, which it turns out is one of the alien fighters, and the 3 alien corpses that they've got pickled in vats.
They meet Lieutenant Commander Data as well, don't they?
Who has let himself go, in fairness, at this point, because the hair is everywhere.
Yeah.
I really like that sort of character archetype. You don't see it much, but the one where it's like the government, like the government conspiracy scientist who's like clearly got the job, clearly good enough that he's allowed to dress how he fucking well pleases on the job. Do you know what I mean? Everyone else around him looks like they're working for the fucking like government, but he just looks like they just found him in a shed somewhere, growing his own crack or something like that. You know, it's like.
He's fully a guy who has a degree from Unseen University.
Yeah.
Jamie, did you say growing his own crack?
I did, yeah. He's that good.
He's there next to Mike Ashley growing his own concrete. Or like Mike Gray. What one is it?
Mike Graham,
Mike Ashley's in it as well for some reason. He's got bored of selling sports equipment.
Will Smith drags the corpse of the alien back and the parachute.
Somehow.
Let's just go with that. Somehow.
Yeah, he runs into fucking the like
Randy Quaid
RV convoy. Yeah, the RV convoy, like led by fucking Randy Quaid and his son, the rabbit from Donnie Darko.
Which for some reason hasn't been mentioned once this entire time in this synopsis.
Not just the son from Donnie Darko, but also the horniest girl on earth.
Yeah.
That little girl just wants to fuck.
I'm clapping that. I can't wait to fucking use that out of context against you.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But like, there's at the beginning of the film where there's that really shitty teen boy that's like, well, we could be dying. You don't want to die a virgin, do you? And then she's like moved on to someone else like 15 minutes later after they've left that place, and she's like, and then like at the end of the film, it turns into a weird abstinence moral story where some guy's like, "No, I'm not going to fuck you. I'm not. I'm happy to die with you or something." Or I can't remember what he says, but it's like, "Oh, this is the good teen boy that doesn't want to just take advantage of this very horny girl who's about to maybe die."
You're making it sound like Airplane there. Because there's that constant joke like, I've never been with a man before. It's just like there's like a queue forming.
But yeah, to get back to Will Smith, he's dragging the fucking alien across across the salt flats in a parachute, and then he stops to absolutely bat a fuck out of it because it stinks. Which is, I just love it. Like, you know what I mean? He's just absolutely like toe capping the shit out of it. And which is like kind of unfair because like most of us would probably stink if we were being dragged across a desert unconscious. Do you know what I mean? Like,
also, he does knock out this alien in one punch.
Yeah,
an alien with some kind of exoskeletal armor.
Yeah, but it's like sharks. Do you know what I mean? Like in their natural habitat, they never meet a Will Smith, so they're just not like they're not adapted to being punched in the face.
Much like Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. I was holding back on the Chris Rock joke.
So he gets that back with the RV convoy, and then Data starts to dissect the thing, and it wakes up.
What I love is when he gets to Area 51 and the guy's like, he's like, fucking, oh, I'm a captain, and the guy salutes him and he's like, well, you can't come in though because it's like top secret. We're not really here, we're just a mirage. And he's like, right, come and look at this, and he shows him the alien, and the guy's like, I'm not fucking dealing with that. Get in there. You know what I mean? Above my pay grade, that like
that's an
off.
Incredibly heavy ID to be carrying around, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's when we get the fun scene where Data starts doing the
the autopsy.
Yeah, the autopsy
on the thing they haven't confirmed is dead.
Yeah.
And was clearly alive before it got punched.
Alive?
He expressly asks how long has it been unconscious. He knows, and yet he persists because he's just that much of a mad scientist guy.
I'd love that you just use the phrase they use for Elizabeth Warren about him just wanting to cut open an alien.
What I like really annoyed me about that scene is one of the scientists working with him is like fucking breakdown guy from every film in the 90s, and he doesn't have like a huge on-screen breakdown in this. I was very disappointed because like I was like, oh, it's that guy.
Smashing your expectations, Jamie.
Just underusing him, you know what I mean? He's
So yeah, the alien wakes up and it's tentacles everywhere, and Brent Spiner ends up against a glass wall, and there might be something to read into that. I don't know.
Yeah, now we're sounding horny.
Yeah. And then it starts using him as a puppet. The alien starts using him as a puppet to speak through because they don't have mouths and they cannot scream. And then it launches a psychic attack against the president, which is the exact wording of this on the Wikipedia. And I feel like that's both simultaneously not doing it justice and also overselling it in quite a way at the same time.
Yeah, the aliens. It's well established in the sequel that the method the aliens use to communicate is migraines.
I would have just liked it if the first thing he used data to communicate with, just that, for fuck's sake, I was unconscious. What the fuck are you doing?
Where is the cunt who punched me?
1v1 me. The first thing the alien picks up is like, meet me in the car park.
Yeah. So they shoot the alien and that's that sorted out. But while that's happened, the president has learned all about them.
Yeah, it psychically transferred plot.txt into his brain. And now he's going to relay it to the rest of us.
Yeah, and then there's some great tell, don't show.
A device that is well overused in the fucking sequel.
Oh, fuck
that film was about 90% weight of just people going, well, you'll remember when, and then explaining their backstory.
If you've enjoyed this section of the podcast where I read out the plot synopsis from Wikipedia, fuck me, you'll love the second film. So it's good here because they obviously went back for the second one and changed this a little bit, but the invaders plan to annihilate Earth's inhabitants and steal their natural resources. So keep natural resources in mind. We'll come back to what those resources are. And then they decide that they're going to attack Houston. Refuse to call it the way that they say it's called Houston. But they nuke that. They just nuke the city, and they're like, everybody's probably gone. Like, it's probably fine. Fuck it. And it doesn't work. So then everyone gets really sad.
See, I like with that they do the, like, let's have the president make a tough moral choice, and the right way to have gone there is definitely nuke everything.
Yeah, that's how you know he's a centrist. That's how you know that it's an ideal centrist world, because he had to make a tough decision.
What I wanted to know is, like, is this film anti-nuke? Because Jeff Goldblum is obviously anti-nuke. Or, like, is the nuke deployed in the plot as, like, an apolitical demonstration of the alien's power?
No, it's actually, it's pro-nuke, but only under certain circumstances.
It's as a warning.
Yeah, it's no first use policy, but definitely still pro-nuke.
Position.
Yeah.
Yeah, nukes are fine if you hand deliver them.
You know, I don't want Royal Mail taking on that business model.
You say that, you'll very quickly become an overly powerful union if you do certain things.
well, we open them up and we just mutate. Xavier's home for unionised mutants.
There's a reason why GMB is still loved by a lot of the right wing of Labour. Just
it
saying.
Stands for genetically modified boys.
Grossly mutated. So yeah, we also cut back to Jasmine and Dylan, who have commandeered a highway maintenance truck, and they rescue a handful of survivors, including a critically injured First Lady, Marilyn Whitmore.
This is like paths crossing again. Like we had it with Will Smith meeting up with Randy Quaid, and now we've got it with President and Jasmine, or President's wife and Jasmine meeting up, like these almost impossible crossing of paths that are going to cross over again and again and again until they're all in one place.
Yeah. The rule of Mary McDonnell's career is that she should never be allowed anywhere near a presidency.
Yes. It's very toxic to her, in fairness.
I mean, I would say actually it's quite funny that this film, because you've got a named First Lady, Marilyn Whitmore, and because you've got Jasmine, and then also earlier on you have Jasmine's friend Tiffany, this film actually passes the Bechdel test twice. So, very easy to do.
Yeah. It's kind of, which is the point of it, right? That it's very easy to do, and very few, or a lot of films fail.
You know, then you see, like, later on, obviously, it's like the women having to watch as their men bravely venture out into danger. And it is so, like, just, let's go for every possible trope of relationships in a disaster there that we can. But
it's fine though, like in the second film we remedy that with girl boss shit, so it's okay.
Yes, total girl buster.
And not to foreshadow again too much, but let's check back in on all of these relationships in the second film.
Yeah. They get rescued by Will Smith, who steals a helicopter and goes back to the base where Jasmine was going to go to meet him, and she also obviously has the First Lady with her now, so he takes them back, and then the First Lady's there, and then she just dies. Like, they rescue her, but she's dead, so okay. And the President looks kind of sad about that, and the whole, like, shall we impart this grief onto the daughter in any way, shape or form? No, we'll just keep that off camera. There's no need for that in the film.
And he just shrugs it off.
To be fair, that sort of thing's hard to write.
I can imagine it probably is. But at the same time, coward
and
shit.
You've seen how the guy struggles with, like, normal conversations.
But he does just shrug it off as well, which again makes me wonder if he is based on Bill Clinton.
Then we get it tells us the day again. It's now July 4th, and Jeff Goldblum's steaming, and his dad says he doesn't want to catch a cold, and from this, the plot jumps about three full mental leaps to the point of computer virus that Jeff Goldblum then writes for his laptop, his 1996 laptop, to disrupt the alien shield's operating system. And I'm just, for a little note, I'm just looking at, because it's on Wikipedia, computer virus, laptop, and operating system are all blue links that I can click, which I just thought was quite nice. And
so if you read those 3 articles, you could also bring down an alien mothership.
Yeah, that's all it'd take. That's it. And yeah, he devises a plan to upload it into the mothership from the refurbished alien fighter, which Will Smith volunteers to pilot.
Like, if they'd done a little bit of explaining, they could probably have said, well, we've been studying the computers on this alien ship for a long time, and we've deciphered from them some kind of programming, like, or anything.
Okay, but like what you fail to understand is that no one in Hollywood knows what a computer is.
Yeah.
Let alone how they work. So, like, as far as they're aware, and as far as they consider the audience to be aware, a computer is just a magic box. So, presumably, one magic box can talk to another. They've got no idea, like, the insides of the different magic boxes, like, have differences. Why would that be? Do you know what I mean?
In the extended edition, they're offered 2 options for this. One is to upload the virus. The other one is to make sure that they're all kind of hunkered down for 4 years, and then the Y2K bug will kick in.
What I like about the scene where he demonstrates his computer virus is that they get fucking Adam Baldwin to try and shoot a Coke can off the alien spaceship. You know what I mean? They're just like, that Coke can said you were woke, and then just like lights it up, you know?
That Coke can said women should be characters in video games.
Yeah.
So the planning's in place in that. So the US military contacts surviving airborne squadrons around the world through Morse code to organise a united counter-offensive, which gives us fucking
By Jove, the Yanks have a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of them said it's about time or something, as if, full on, well, the British can't do anything until the Americans say so, which, again, this is pre-9/11, which is very funny.
Pre-2003 as well, the Iraq War.
Yeah, just fucking great. Okay, cool.
We were getting tired of sitting around and just noncing all the time.
Well, there's a fucking shot in the second. There's a shot in the second one where they have a video call with all the world leaders, and the fucking guy from England is just the casting director went, "I need the most British nonce you can find." No, that's too British.
Just picked him up from the Satadik zone.
Lacking pilots, the President and General William Grey enlist volunteers with flight experience, including retired combat pilot Russell Case, who was the one that picked up Will Smith earlier, and who has been previously abducted by aliens, which, again, I feel it's mad that we've got this far through the synopsis and that just hasn't come up yet, because it's the best scene in the whole fucking film.
Are we supposed to think that he actually got abducted by aliens, or was he...
Yes.
Right, so I wasn't sure if we were supposed to think...
redemption arc for a guy who flew in Vietnam. And I wonder what he was doing while he was flying planes in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Crop dusting of a sort.
That whole character is just redeem Vietnam. But
I wasn't sure if he was supposed to be just a person who had some kind of mental health incident where he thought he was abducted by aliens, and now he's getting revenge on some completely different and actually real aliens.
No, I think the whole thing is, and it's why they're able to do the redemption with his kids as well, is that he's gone from being this guy that was horribly abused and had suffered, and nobody believed him, and therefore they blamed him for things. And then it turns out it's okay because he was right all along.
Oh, okay.
The bad guys were real and they were really bad. And so he was doing the right thing when he was then a bad person.
I think it's more ambiguous than that.
That's the message I felt.
No, I thought it was that aliens do exist, so it kind of could have happened.
Yeah. Also, I don't think there's any amount of trauma that really justifies drinking and flying a plane.
I think it's meant to be that he was abducted by those aliens, because that's why they have the spaceship from Roswell, and it's all the conspiracy theories about aliens and the American government.
Turns out they're real.
True in this film, yeah.
What a character!
So it would be very entertaining if there was because they obviously at the end of the sequel they try to give you a hook to kickstart the Independence Day cinematic universe, and it would be cool if we just had endless invasions from slightly different types of aliens. Do you know what I mean?
Well, who do you think's got worse politics? The Randy Quaid or
Henry
Adam
Kissinger? I mean, probably Adam Baldwin. I mean, because I think Adam Baldwin gives you the impression that he's arrived at those conclusions on his own, whereas Randy Quaid just genuinely seems like untreated mental illness.
Well, he's just stumbled down the stairs and just hit his head hard enough to think that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the fly on the jets, they've got Area 51, and the president gets in a plane because he's leading from the front, etc., and he does the big speech and all that shit, and
the speech is fucking awful as well.
Yeah, it is some Sorkin shit. That speech.
No, Sorkin's actually better. And I can't believe I've said that, but
you do not got to hand it to him.
I'm not handing it to him. I'm just suggesting that, I don't know, because I went and had a look at some of the reviews for the film, before rewatching, because I was I got shown it by my parents as this is a great film, we love it. When I first saw it, so I was going back to it and was oh yeah, what did people think about it? Let's have a look at some reviews, and everybody's oh, you've just got to think about that speech. It's so important and so significant, and you're oh my god.
When you were reading those reviews, could you hear guns being fired into the air in the background?
Oh, it just I don't know. I think everybody loving it made me hate it even more.
Yeah, it's genuinely fucking dreadful. The bit about, like, he references that, like, fucking that poem about we won't go quietly into that good night or something. Like, nowadays draws like a comparison with that fucking bit Michael Caine does in Interstellar, which is much better.
It's better because he's just reading a poem, not like just fucking here's some Sorkin shit. But
see, I thought you was gonna say, like, now harkens back to Michael Caine in Harry Brown.
Actually, what do you think? What do you think was happening on Harry Brown's estate during the alien invasion in Attack the Block? Because it was established that the fucking, like, weird dog monsters were landing all over London, so presumably Harry Brown and his, like, fucking mate, the not paedophile, had to, like, kick fuck out of a bunch of them.
You had to steal one off a certain member of the House of Lords.
So the next thing we get is that Will Smith marries Jasmine with fucking Jeff Goldblum, and
Ron Howard's dad conducts the ceremony.
Yeah, that family needs to stop. Yeah, I'm not long after a fucking Arrested Development watch through as well, so like that was annoying. That was very annoying to see one of them in this. So yeah, they fuck off on a mission. So Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum get into the alien ship and they fly up. They get in, they upload the virus, they deploy a nuclear missile, and they destroy it and the alien's reinforcements. And then the shields are down, so the president and all the other people in the jets can shoot at them, but they keep fucking it up. And then the last-ditch attempt to destroy it is when the gun is about to fire. You need to fly an F-18 directly into it, and that's how Russell
they had to
destroys
fire a
it.
missile.
Well, they were going to fire a missile at it, yeah, but they couldn't because it was jammed, because the plot demanded that something happen for tension. And
also Randy Quaid to be able to redeem himself.
Yes.
And like Chloe said, the Vietnam War.
Yes. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. So with that, all of America's crimes are deemed inadmissible, and the war is over, and all of the ships presumably went, well, we'll just try firing one more time, and they just kept getting fucking taken down. And that's it. The film's over. There are fireworks, etc., because it is indeed Independence Day, and that's it. There was never a sequel.
Yeah, well, what you need to note about the end is they show you the ruins of a bunch of, like, world cities.
Yeah.
And of course, Houston is irradiated.
Yeah.
Yes.
For however long that's
no one
take.
notices.
No.
Right. So I do want to talk about this film and race and just Roland Emmerich a little bit in general, because like he's spoken about racism in the film industry before. And apparently there was resistance to him casting Will Smith in this, but also like he doesn't write or prioritize people of color very well in his films. And like, do you think he would ever write or direct or cast a film with a black scientist, engineer person and a Jewish fighter pilot?
Good question.
I would like to see this swapped with Will Smith playing the Jeff Goldblum role, and then Nicolas Cage playing the Will Smith role. I mean, it's 1996. It's peak Cage time.
What about Cage playing like
the alien?
Yeah, I was about to say the alien. I was going to say Bill Pullman, but I do like Bill Pullman in this. So who's bad? What about Nick Cage playing the
Jeff Goldblum's dad?
No, Randy Quaid.
Oh, he could so do the Randy Quaid.
Nick Cage can just do all of the replacement noises for the alien rather than some cunt's cat.
I mean, Nick Cage would absolutely like have fucking just ruled if he'd been cast instead of Brent Spiner.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
Yes.
I'd actually like to see the entire Independence Day remade shot for shot, but with Nick Cage playing all the parts.
I mean, yeah,
including the dog.
For any single film, and that's always going to be true, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you could probably do that with like a deep fake AI if you had like a fast enough computer and a couple of days to kill.
I do have a week off actually, so
Well,
check the links on this episode.
Yeah.
So just some things I made notes of. That you see Will Smith waking up next to Jasmine, and then immediately after he gets up to walk outside, he's put some bottoms on, and his dog tags. It's the only thing he's wearing. I don't understand why he has to be wearing his dog tags immediately after waking up.
It's in case he's murdered by an enemy combatant outside the house.
He's not wearing them when he wakes up, so he puts on the bottoms and it's like, what else do I need? Dog tags.
Well, he should be wearing them in bed. What if his house fell down in the night? How would they know who he was?
Not by the address or anything. Yeah, I think that's probably the main thing that we didn't get to.
Just the dog tags.
The main thing we didn't get to is Jeff Goldblum's shitty chess metaphors. Because you see him playing chess with his dad in the park in New York at the start. And then he explains like the alien signal that he understands that the reducing signal in the satellite feed is a countdown to an attack because it's like chess. You position all your pieces and then you wait. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's how chess works. I think when the other guy makes a move, you have to act. I don't think you're allowed to just go, I'm good, mate, and just wait for them to make a mistake. Do you know what I mean? I think you have to keep moving.
It's like Dungeons and Dragons. You can hold your action.
Yeah.
One thing you have to give it is this is definitely a film.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's actually mechanically a good film for what it's trying to be. Yeah, you can argue about a lot of things, but actually, part A goes into part B into slot C, and it works really well from that point.
Yeah, no, it is all round a good film.
Yeah,
like if a bit fucking stupid at points, but like fine, whatever. It's a film; it can be stupid if it wants to be.
I found another thing in my notes.
Oh, good.
Is classism. Like there is some kind of classism. There's the Jasmine stuff and about like sex work and how that is seen.
Jordan, I don't know if anyone's told you here, but America doesn't have a class system actually because they don't have the same accent.
But there's also how Judd Hirsch, his character, talks about David being the cable repairman and how I don't know, he should maybe be more ambitious, or is having a working class job dignified enough? And it seems to think it is in this film.
That bit where he's talking to his wife or his ex-wife or whatever, where like he's complaining about how she left him because of her ambition and her career, and like she's like, well, have you never ever wanted to be part of something special? And he's like, I was. And it's like, yeah, okay, like you think you're over egging it a bit there, like, you know what I mean? But
I like that bit where are they having that conversation and she seems surprised that he knows who the Beatles are? Because he say something like, all you need is love, John Lennon shot in the back, very sad, and she looks like, how do you know John Lennon? It's just like the weirdest reaction.
That's the bit on Air Force One, isn't it, with the with his dad? But no, it's the bit where he's getting pissed because they've decided to use nukes.
Yes, yeah.
And like, and she was apparently, the marriage failed because she was mad that he just wanted to be a fucking like cable guy and didn't want to become like fucking Elon Musk or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, like, there is a bit where she's like mad because he apparently accused her of having an affair with the president at some point, and like, it's totally fine that David did that because it would have been justified, and she probably overreacted there. Like, that's the kind of vibe you get. He
punched the president.
Yeah.
Before he was president.
Yeah.
It's just, like, again, I think this film is actually, in many ways, it does some stuff better than the sequel in terms of how it handles sexism, but, like, just the way it leans into some tropes is bizarre.
Chloe, it does everything better than the fucking sequel.
Also, that bit as well, they talk about how they had a fight, and it's like, I mean, I like Jeff Goldblum as much as the next person, but Bill Pullman would fucking destroy him if they got into a fight. Like,
also, Bill Pullman was at this point obviously a fair bit younger than he is in the film.
He's got the range as well. he's got the reach advantage.
Not long off of having apparently been an Air Force pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know those Air Force pilots can like absolutely like punch out a fucking like mech. So
Yeah.
I've seen him punch out Kieran Culkin, but that's not quite Bill Pullman.
I fucking love that film.
Yeah.
Oh, what? You weren't just talking generally.
Well, I was. So is there a film?
We don't watch him 24 hours a day. You know what I mean? What he gets up to on his own time is like his business.
Yeah, it'd be quite amusing if the film you're talking about is like Home Alone and there's just an outtake from like Kieran Culkin being 6 years old and Jeff Goldblum just lamping him.
No, if anyone is interested, there's a very good film called Igby Goes Down, and Jeff Goldblum is not so Jeff Goldblum in that.
Yeah. Kieran Culkin is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, on the topic of Independence Day, is there any final thoughts anyone would like to offer before we stop this recording and then painfully begin the second one where we talk about the really bad film?
Well, I'd just like to say we will be talking about the sequel, but a lot of people forget that there was another set of sequels as well. So there was Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, and Mother's Day, which were all films set in that same premise that, you know, it was just based around a day, and there was lots of different disparate people meeting, just, you know, and yeah, they move away from the sci-fi bit a little bit and lean more into the romantic comedy side of things. But I'm not because they don't really mention the invasion either. But
is this similar to the series Clash of the Titans, Wrath of the Titans, Remember the Titans?
That's my guess, yeah. But
yeah, like 7 and 10 in 2001.
Needs a better naming scheme, to be honest. Realistically, put it all under one umbrella, like the Amazon's Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan's whatever the fuck it is.
The Calendar Man cinematic universe.
Yes. Well, right. Okay, I think we'll kill this here, but we will say, if you want to hear part 2, you will need to go to Comradio. And where can we find Comradio?
You can find us on Twitter at Comradio UK. And we've got links to all the podcast stuff there. And also you can find Ale, the Alternative Left Entertainment, at alternativeleftentertainment.org, or follow us on Twitter at ale_collective.
Yes, and yeah, everyone's fucking ats are in the show notes, etc. And yeah, please do join us for part 2, where I will lose my fucking mind about another terrible film.
Part 2, which is probably going to be better than this, because like the general consensus on this film is, it's all right.
Yeah, it's fine.
What I mean? wasn't sad when it stopped, but I enjoyed it enough. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the second one, like, I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone else present, but that was fucking honking. That, like, do you know what I mean? Never make me watch anything like that ever again, and I'll be happy.
I can promise you will never be happy. So on that positive note, we'll catch you later.
Yeah, see ya.
Cheerio.
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.